The minute Walter Ray Williams had the chance last week to be the first repeater. He entered the 10th frame of the championship match against Mark Baker, needing a spare to win. The last to win 2 in a row, Mark Williams, winning the Pat Boone and the Firestone last year. Baker couldn't believe his eyes as he became our 10th winner in 10 weeks. And today, we will have another new face in the winner's circle. ABC Sports presents the Professional Bowlers Tour. Live from the Buckeye Lanes in North Olmsted, Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland. Let's meet our 5 finalists. In the number 5 position, looking for his first PBA title, Leroy Bornhop from St. Charles, Missouri. He will face Randy Stoughton of Indianapolis, a 7-year PBA member also trying for his first title. The winner of that match will face Brian Voss, who earlier this week won 13 consecutive matches on his way to a 3rd championship appearance this year. In second place is the veteran Acosta, who won his first championship right here at Buckeye Lanes in 1981. And our tournament leader, Monacelli, a native of Venezuela, dominated the tournament this week and needs only 1 win to claim his first championship. All today on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Ah, yes, there's the light reflecting off the Buckeye Lanes. Finals of the $150,000 Light Beer Open. This is the 13th year we've come to the Buckeye Lanes, and for the Miller Brewing Company, 21st consecutive year that we have been partners on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Now, that's consistency. We haven't had that kind of consistency when it comes to double winners on the Professional Bowlers Tour this week. It's the 11th week out of a tour of 16. We have never had a year in 24, now going on 25, when we didn't have double winners. Once we went through 13 weeks. Well, we'll have another winner today. 3 of them have not won, so it's a big opportunity for them and for Acosta to come back and hopefully get 2 here at the Buckeye Lanes as he won in 1981. It's going to be an exciting event today. We're live, and earlier, Nelson Burton Jr. found another facet of the Professional Bowlers Tour. It has to do with lifestyles. So let's go outside. Here's Bo.
Chris, there are various lifestyles on the Professional Bowlers Tour. I'm outside Buckeye Lanes here, and remember, the Professional Bowlers Tour started 10 weeks ago on their road to Akron. We started in California, went through Texas, down to the warmth of Florida, through the Midwest, and now we're our final 6 stops here in the East. Now, some players fly, other players drive, and other players carry their home right with them, such as Wayne Webb. Notice the satellite dish he has right on top of his motorhome. He's gone over 7,000 miles on this tour, and we'll visit him today. Man, oh man, what a great setup, parts. Wow, you're traveling in style. This motorhome looks like the way to go. You didn't make the top 5 this week, but you're heading on down to Toledo. You're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I've flown, and I've rented cars, and I've driven a van and stayed in motels and stuff, but I like this the best.
Well, you got your bedroom, your shower, microwave, all the conveniences of home. It's got to cut down your costs some, and then, of course, you're right next to the bowling center all the time.
Yeah, when you're staying in motels, you got to put out the money anyhow, and in this, you're right outside the bowling center. You don't have to worry about getting caught in traffic, or you can come out, have something to drink or whatever, and I like this a lot.
Looks like you got the great lifestyle. You have about 120 miles from Cleveland down to Toledo. Good luck next week in the PBA National. Thanks for letting us come into your home.
Thanks a lot, Bo.
Okay, Wayne Webb, who finished 22nd this week here at the Light Beer Championship. And, well, he lives in Indianapolis, so he can't represent that city, but this man can. Randy Stoughton is from Indianapolis, Indiana. First shot as he goes against Leroy Bornhop. And a 10-10 on the left lane of this championship pair, Nelson.
Something we haven't seen much of this week, Chris, is the scoring has been very high, over a 220 average just to make the top 24. The pin carry's been very good. The players have been able to find the pocket from that inside line. Randy Stoughton, the cross lane. for the spare.
31-year-old professional. So here in his second ever television appearance, Randy, who's been a PBA member for 7 years and a non-winner, has marked with a spare. Now, from your home area, Nelson, St. Charles, Missouri, Leroy Bornhop, 25-year-older.
St. Charles, about 10 miles west of St. Louis, just across the Missouri River. It's a great strike ball for Leroy.
And he, too, now will have to cover the 10-pin. Last week's winner, Mark Baker, finished 9th.
Leroy, with that creeping style, takes a 5-step delivery, opens that hand at the top of the swing, then turns through the ball. Once again, we have a 10-pin in the first frame for a point.
So we have an even match through the first frame of our opening game. And if you just joined us, the winner of this first match will meet Brian Voss, then Mal Acosta, followed by the tournament leader Monacelli of Venezuela.
The championship pair, lanes 21 and 22 here at Buckeye Lanes, a 48-lane establishment. And as what has made the scores so high is the players could play that inside line, avoid going through the nose, and yet carry the light hits. So we won't see too many balls go high. It's a matter of getting a big string by carrying these 10-pin every frame.
And the 180-pounder is now going to be faced with the 245 on the left.
Leroy sends the ball just a little bit wide. The head pin goes to the sideboard, doesn't jump out of the channel. And as a result, he doesn't get the action on the 245. Straight down, hard speed, guard against chopping the 2-4 off the 5.
Continuing the mark is the 25-year-older from St. Charles. Now back to the Hoosier, Randy Stoughton. 6-footer, 185. Watch his style. Two, 4, 5, 8.
Same type of shot we saw Leroy leave as you see the approach of the 6-footer Randy Stoughton. Short backswing, short approach, down, good knee. Once again, he doesn't get the ball to finish enough from that deep inside line, has left the 2, 4, 5, 8 dinner bucket spare.
We're having almost a mirror-like first game between these two non-winners. Let's replay his backswing. Randy Stoughton.
Stoughton wiping that oil off the ball. As you see his ball slightly behind his hip, but then he gets that ball in close to his left ankle as he comes through, kind of straightens out that loop in his swing. And that's one of the reasons he could stay up near the top.
Come on.
And in that case, he talked a little more to that bowling ball. Found its pocket, and we have our first strike coming in the third frame for Stoughton. Now in the third, Bornhop. A little confused as he leaves the 2-pin.
Watch the elbow and the wrist action of Leroy Bornhop. He releases that ball off his left hand very quickly, opens the hand on the backswing, then rotates that wrist directly underneath the ball as he releases it. Most amateurs have a tendency to top the ball. Keep your hand underneath it. Let the wrist do the work.
Two very fast bowlers who take very little time once they're set on the approach. The man to meet the winner of this game, Brian Voss, warms up. There you hear the pin fall. He's practicing off to the right.
Leroy Bornhop is a type of player that is used to shooting big scores. He averaged more than 230 in the league in St. Louis before he came out on a professional bowlers tour. And if he starts shooting 250s, he'll keep shooting them game after game. He's not afraid of the big numbers.
All right. And in the fourth frame, Leroy gets his very first strike. An even match We'll be back with more after winter. He's from Tacoma. His third television appearance this year. He has 2 victories, but none this year. He'd like to pick up one today. Going to be a rough road, though, because we have 2 tough non-winners bowling right now in an even match. In the 5th frame, Randy Stoughton of Indianapolis. Make it the 4th frame. Three, 6, 10.
Stoughton trying to make an adjustment for that 2-4-5-8 lead he had in the 2nd frame. Softens his shot up, leaves the 3-6-10, quickly changes balls, will go across lane, have the ball try to hit in the 3-6 area, and carry out the 10. It would be all even if he converts through 4.
Sailing on the 3, chopping the 6-10. Earlier we asked Randy what he's done to correct the problems he had earlier this season.
Well, I made a big change in my release. I'm trying to keep my thumb to the outside and my elbow in so I can get more revolutions at the bottom of the swing. I come through with it, and I get the ball to go right to left instead of straight up.
And Randy used to be much of a down and in player. You see him hold that ball to the outside, maybe the thumb at 3 o'clock, try to maintain that all the way through the release area to get a little more turn and revolution on the ball.
The 1-2-4.
And Randy has a major problem. Watching the players warm up before we start on the air, the championship pair is very slick this week as compared to many weeks we see the ball breaking a lot. This week you have to go down and in somewhere around the 2nd arrow or a little bit farther out. And that's the line I think that we're going to see Acosta, Brian Voss, and Monacelli play. Stoughton to the 1-2-4 has a tough road ahead playing that deep inside line.
No chopping there. He made sure. Randy Stoughton. And he can still manage to smile. Here's the front.
Here's the line as he comes right at you for the spare shot. You'll notice he'll be somewhere around the 3rd arrow and straight down and in. Makes a good shot at this. But right now, Bornhop up in the 5th can extend his lead of 12 to 22 with a strike.
Come on, ball.
Gets it. Here's a man that bowled in just 12 national events in '84 and earned over $31,000. He's a competitor.
Today we're going to see some releases, and here's Leroy Bornhop's. Watch the wrist action as the hand comes through the shot. You see the thumb to the right of 12 o'clock, about the 1 o'clock zone, rotate around the ball, and the fingers do not go over the top of the ball. They stay behind the ball. That's the mark of a champion, of a top pro. Keep your hand under the ball, let the wrist do the work. It's revolutions, not hook, that makes those pins talk.
And now Leroy leads by 32 pins in what was an even match. Let's replay that shot.
The serpentine approach of Leroy Bornhop starts way to the left, then drifts all the way back to the right in the last step, playing around the 3rd arrow. Gets a great break. Watch the action of the head pin as it goes to sideboard and takes out the 4-5-7.
Big one for Randy Stoughton. He was a 2nd and 3rd round leader, then slipped to 4th.
The release of Stoughton, see him keeping his thumb on the outside of the ball over in the 1 o'clock area, keeps the finger right underneath the ball. A release very similar to what we saw of Leroy Bornhop, and that's the thing that has helped him improve his game in the last couple of weeks.
And Randy cuts the lead to 22. And the adrenaline is pumping here. We're beyond the halfway point. We'll be back with more of this first match. Bornhop in the lead by 22 pins over this man, Randy Stoughton from Indianapolis.
Quality all he can handle. Right now, here's a hot St. Louisan or St. Charles, and then suburb of St. Louisan, who has a 22-pin lead. 7th frame can extend to 32.
Tough break, leaving the 10-pin. And not too much will be left when those monster trucks on Wide World of Sports today take care of things.
Watch the 6-pin. It hits the 10-pin. Watch it. Ooh, it moves it around a little bit, but not enough to knock it off spot. An interesting point, a rule in the American Bowling Congress, a bowling pin must fall when it's tilted 9 degrees off axis. That one just got about a degree off axis. It did not move.
That brings a smile from the 25-year-older from St. Charles, Missouri. Very likable guy. There's his wife, Cindy. Good support from Cindy.
Beautiful dress.
Mm-hmm. Great smile.
Leroy, who still maintains a position on a team in league bowling in St. Louis because he says he likes both the individual competition out here on the Pro Tour and the team competition at home, leads by 21.
Back in the pocket. And Randy Stoughton hopes he can do the same because he has a double working and he'll be shooting in the 8th frame. First game, the winner to meet, Brian Voss.
Key frame for Stoughton. Getting late in the match, trails by 21, has a double up, can cut the lead of Leroy Bornhop down to just 11 with another strike.
A 2.
Well, he said he's worked on his game to get a little more hook, the right to left pin action, but he sends that one just too far to the right, and it doesn't come back quite far enough to the left. Just touches a little bit of the head pin, not enough to carry out the 2, 4, and 8. Leaves the 2 pin with a conversion here. He'll trail by 22.
A high school golf team member at Arlington in Indianapolis, Randy Stoughton, who kept very busy. And there you see his brother on the right and his sister-in-law and his niece, Lindsay.
And the family, somewhat of a disaster. Their mother passed away in an automobile accident when Randy was just 18 years old, but the family is stuck together and stuck behind their star player, Randy Stoughton, in a key 9th frame.
Come on, Randy.
Power.
What Randy Stoughton has to work on is the arm swing, and he keeps that thumb up, but he drops that arm behind his back, but gets that ball inside out, right by the left ankle. Good extension and follow through, and by far the best shot of the game for Randy Stoughton as he stays in the match with a strike.
Well, he's got a loud cheering section here. Come on, Leroy. That's it.
And there's no doubt about this one. The ball just sucks the pins right on into the pit. Ball drives through the 1, 3, 5, and 8. No doubt about it. Leroy knows this is his best shot of the match. He's put himself in a position now where he can close out Randy Stoughton. A mark here in the 10th frame, and he would go on to meet Brian Voss.
Cindy liked it, and she knows that her husband has taken the measure of Randy Stoughton with this shot.
What a great break. This is the break that Mark Baker needed last week to win the professional tournament at King Louis. It was also the undoing of Deadeye Walter Ray Williams, the inability to knock out the 2 and 8 with the head pin. It works for Leroy. He wins the first match. He'll go against Brian Voss.
Another one for Leroy Bornhop of St. Charles, Missouri. He'll meet Brian Voss. We'll be back for that game and the final score of the first after
Tour. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. By Firestone, with over 4,000 Firestone retailers from coast to coast. And by Jeep, there's a feeling you can get only in a Jeep. We'll be back with more bowling after these commercial messages and a word from your local station.
Cleveland City of Light, you're calling me.
Well, the scores into the first match. Leroy Bornhop of St. Charles, Missouri, with 7 strikes, 244 to Randy Stoughton's 190. He moves up in our stepladder format to meet Brian Voss, a 2-time winner. But first, let's ask Bo. Bo, what is the Professional Bowlers Association school?
Chris, the PBA school is a school that's mandatory for all players, and it basically encompasses bowling finance, how to finance yourself out here, and how to handle your money and expenses. Number 2, lane maintenance. That's studying of the lanes and how they're oiled and maintained. Number 3, the bowling rules, and that's pretty much speaks for itself. Know all the rules of the game of bowling. And number 4 is media awareness, how to handle radio, television, and print media. And number 5, alcohol and drug abuse information. And all players are required to go to the school. It's a 3-day school, Chris. The next school will be April 4th through the 6th in the New York City area.
Well, D and E look the toughest of those. So, if you'd like to ask Bo a question, send the question to Post Office Box, 1986 Radio City Station, New York, New York, 10101. The championship round this year. Qualified 3rd in the United States Open, but lost to David Ozio and finished 4th. Light Beer Championship in Milwaukee. 3 weeks ago, he beat Jeff Bellinger. 2-frame roll-off, remember that? And they had tied at 2-11, then lost to Mark Roth. Just didn't come up, and he left the 2-5.
Brian Voss, who is having by far his best year, his 4th year out here on the tour, an excellent athlete, and it's obvious to see by that physique. He's in top physical condition. Has not yet won a tournament this year, but he will definitely be in the winner's circle a number of times. 2-5.
All right, gets his spare. Brian Voss of Tacoma, Washington, site of next year's United States Open. There you see the tournament leader and the man that gets to go against him. They'll be battling for $41,000, third 85. Loser of the match you're watching now, 7. And Randy Stoughton won $6,000 in his loss to this man, Leroy Bornhop. Off and running, 244 in the last game with 7 strikes.
Leroy, as I said earlier, is not afraid to shoot the big numbers as you see him with that powerful ball drive the 10-pin right on out. There's the difference. The 6-pin goes to sideboard. He keeps it airborne long enough to bump out the 10. Leroy can shoot the big numbers. I used to watch in the league scores in St. Louis when he'd come in for his 3-game scores, 660, 750. One of the top bowlers in the country and in the St. Louis area. Second frame.
Well, we've had 10 championships, Nelson, 10 different winners.
And Chris, of those 5 winners, the winner came from the winner of the first match. In other words, if it holds true to form, Leroy Bornhop has a 50-50 chance right now of winning this tournament. But then again, on the other token, the tournament leader has won twice, and it's been in both of the light beer commercials, and this is the light beer tournaments, and this is the 3rd one. So we'll see what happens.
Well, he was practicing earlier. We were talking about splits with Brian. Now he has one.
Brian, with that 4-step delivery, just gets an awful break on this shot. As you see, that nice profile, steady head, good shoulders, good extension, leaves the swishing 7-10. Not a good break at all.
So early now, door is ajar for Bornhop.
The 5-pin should take out the 7. Now the ball hits the 1-3, then drives in the 5. But watch where this 5-pin goes. It gets taken into the 8, doesn't take out the 7. The 6 lays down the channel. The head pin comes back across. No break at all for Brian Voss, except a bad break. Trails by 23 after just 2 frames.
That's his first strike of this, the second game from Tacoma, Washington. The defending champion, Ernie Schlegel, finished 13th here in 1986. Also a man that knows the state of Washington well.
Ernie Schlegel from Vancouver area. Leroy Bornhop started with 2 in a row, leads by 23, third frame. Leroy Bornhop keeps that arm close to his body. Watch one of the fundamentals of the sport of bowling. Keep the body and arm close together at the top of the backswing as he comes right through. It's right next to his side. Notice that wrist sting underneath the ball. Leroy didn't quite finish that shot as he's slightly off balance, but it leaves a simple spare, the 9-pin.
We're in our second game. Leroy Bornhop won the first game, 244 to 190. And now he's against Brian Voss, leading by 22. The winner of this game will meet Mal Acosta, then the tournament leader, Monacelli.
You see Leroy going through quite a bit of pre-shot preparation, wiping the oil or conditioner off his ball as he digs his fingers into that long semi-fingertip grip, wraps his wrist underneath the ball. He's set, fourth frame.
A 10.
A hit similar to what Leroy had in the first and second frames where he carried out the 10-pin, but this time not to be. The ball doesn't drive through the 1-3 zone hard enough to make the 6-pin stay airborne. You see it lay down in the right-hand channel, not knock out the 10, and that is the difference between the solid strike and the half 10.
Bornhop is our leader in our second match. His opponent is Brian Voss. The lead is 21 pins. We'll be back.
The second jewel in bowling's Triple Crown. The best shoot for the biggest jackpot of the season on ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour next Saturday.
We're at the Buckeye Lanes in North Olmsted, Ohio, suburb of Cleveland. Great sports city, especially with Cleveland State doing so well in basketball. And last night, a Moondog Ball celebrating the 34th anniversary of the beginning of rock and roll right here in Cleveland. And, Bo, they hope to get the Rock Hall of Fame in this area.
Well, it would be great. And as you said, this town was rocking with bowling and Cleveland State's 1 point loss to Navy last night.
Oh, a break for Brian Voss of Tacoma. Okay, earlier we asked Brian why he's done so well this year.
I think during the break, prior to the winter tour, I spent 8 days of exhibitioning in Florida, along with Bo Burton. And this is my 4th year out on tour. I feel like I'm a much better player. I've learned to perform under pressure, and I'm due to win on TV.
And Chris, in that 8-day tour, we went to 18 different cities. He averaged a fabulous 225. He's in top shape.
There's the man that after the second round was 63rd. After the third, he moved to 16th, then to second at the end of the fourth. So you talk about giant steps. This man did it.
And he's ready. He's ready to win. He needs to prove to himself and to his peers that he can win, but mostly to himself. A great athlete, but going against one of the great strike bowlers today, Leroy Bornhop. 1-pin lead.
5th frame strike for Bornhop, who had 7 in his first game victory. Mal Acosta warming up off to our right. You hear the pin fall. Tight match. 1 pin.
And pin carry is so important to high scores. You've seen Leroy hit high, trip the 4-pin out for a strike. Hit solid, carry a strike. Hit light, swish the 5 over into the 7. And then on his 4th type of strike, what we call the wall shot, the head pin, the sideboard, taking out the 4, 5, and 7. He's got them all working for him. Has that 1-pin lead, can extend to 11. 6th frame.
Beautiful strike for Bornhop. Cindy appreciating it. His bride with that double. He has taken an 11-pin lead. But it can come back to 1 if Voss now can strike in the 6th frame. Turkey working.
Brian Voss, who learned to bowl in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska, to be specific, where his father was involved in a bowling center up there, and while his father was in the Army.
One pin separating these two professionals. Winner of 2 titles, this man, Voss. Bornhop seeking his first.
The arm swing of Brian Voss, the great improvement he's made in his game is he straightened out his arm swing. When he first came out on the tour, he had that arm swing looping behind his back like we saw Randy Stoughton. Voss has straightened it out, learned to increase his speed, and there's no doubt about the result. As he's answered the question, can I continue to strike with Leroy Bornhop? Yes, and he can take the lead right here in the 7th.
Brown now gets pumped up for the 2nd match. And he has taken a 9-pin lead, finally, against Bornhop. Don't go away. We'll be back with the rest of the 2nd game. We have a seesaw battle going between Leroy Bornhop, who won the first game 244 to Randy Stoughton's 190. Now against Brian Voss. He's trailing by 9 in the 7th frame. He can take a 1-pin lead with a strike here. We're in North Olmsted, Ohio today. $50,000 to the winner next week, Nelson. That is a prize. The PBA National Championship, Toledo Trust sponsorship in that River City, right on the banks of the Maumee.
Big tournament there at Darrell Dukett's place, and on to Fairlanes in Baltimore, then out to the Long Island Open, the Greater Hartford Open, and finally our last in our 16-week series will be the Firestone Tournament of Champions, April 26th. Scoreboard tells the story. It's become a strike-a-thon with Leroy Bornhop leading by 1 through 7 frames.
All right, he's applying the pressure. Now here in our 2nd game to Brian Voss, who has to go to work now.
The line of Leroy Bornhop on the right-hand lane, which hooks a little bit more. He's deep inside between the 3rd and 4th arrows. Tremendous wrist action. Snaps that ball right into the pocket.
Voss with 5 in a row, shooting in the 8th frame.
Quick replay shows Leroy's playing the same line on both lanes. Voss jumps high and leaves the 6-10, breaking his string.
Big shot. You could see the exhaling and looking at the score sheet overhead.
Brian across lane, extra speed, converting the 6-10. Two improvements that Voss has made in the last year, Chris, simply getting that loop out of his swing, the ability to throw harder without that loop on the swing on both the spare shots and strike shots. The scoreboard tells the story. Leroy Bornhop has stayed right near the lead the whole match. The best Voss can shoot is 245 if he strikes out. Leroy Bornhop going at a 238 pace. Big scores, still 2 frames left.
And it's a 10-pin on the left lane for Voss.
Watch the action of the 6-pin. That's the 2nd pin on the right-hand part of your screen. It lays down in the channel. Doesn't quite get up to hit the 10. And that's what stops many a string for pro bowlers.
Here's the man that finished 4th twice in his 2 previous television appearances this year. And in trouble right now because Bornhop has a 4-bagger working, leading by 14, shooting in the 9th frame.
There's something to be said for the ability to shoot big scores. Leroy Bornhop learned to bowl in a bowling center, Dick Weber lanes, where the scores were phenomenally high. Some players bowl at 240 and then they're afraid to shoot another 240, figuring they're not that good. Leroy Bornhop, not that type of player. He's allowed to run this out for 260.
All right. The intensity is there now, and good concentration. Really putting it together.
The pin action of Leroy Bornhop. Head pin to the sideboard, 2-pin driving back through the 8-pin zone. Knocks them all down. Leroy has put himself in a position where he can lock up the match with a mark here in the 10th. He loves that action. Possible 268 with 3 more strikes.
Late falling 10-pin. For the man who has, up to this point, earned $4,685 here in 1986. Incidentally, the leading money winner, Walter Ray Williams, finished 48th. So it'll be Acosta and Leroy Bornhop. Bornhop in his 3rd game going against the 1981 winner right here. Well, it is time now for Nelson Burton's Tip of the Week. He gives us a helping hand on how to get our kids off to a good start in bowling. Watch and listen.
Today's bowling tip of the week is for the junior bowler, and it's important that you adults pay attention to these 3 tips to help your junior become a better player. Number 1, have your child pick up the ball properly every time. As you see Steve here, he picks it up with his hands on the side of the ball so he doesn't smash his fingers coming with another ball coming into it. Number 2, have your child hold the ball by his side with his fingers and thumb in the ball and see if he can hold it there, like Steve is doing here, for about 5 seconds. If you see him dropping his shoulder or something like that, you can believe that that ball is too heavy. If he can hold it like Steve has right here, you can rest assured it fits him and the weight is just right. And number 3, most juniors end up with a bad arm swing for one simple reason. When they're young, they twist their body at the foul line like this. They get a loop in their swing and throw the ball sideways. So make sure that your youngster slides with his left foot for your right-handed bowlers, with the right foot for the left-handed bowlers, perpendicular to the foul line. Steve will demonstrate. Go ahead and take a shot, Steve. Nice shot, Steve. There you have it. Remember what Steve showed you today. Have your child pick up the ball with his hands on the side, test the weight, make sure it isn't too heavy, and make sure that they face the target by sliding perpendicular to the foul line.
Ah, yes, the junior heavyweight fight. A good one. We've had a battle here. A man that's averaging 250 now in 2 games of professional bowling, Leroy Bornhop of St. Charles, Missouri, 256 to 234. And again, 3rd time this year, Brian Voss finishes 4th. Now it's Acosta.
Size of the field, 160 players, 211 average for the whole field, 220 to make the top 24, and a 210 average, 214 average to cash 53rd place. That was Tom Milton. And we had a great field out here with 5 guys here on the championship round, but here's some of the other finishes. Ron Palami, Tucson champion, big guy Dave Capel, a local Stabora up there, King Louis champion Mark Baker up there, Dave Ferrara, AC Delco champion Randy Peterson, powerful Jeff Bellinger, the defending champion here, Ernie Schlegel, Darrell Bauer up there, Dale Strike, his dad Bill's got to be proud of him, Roger LeBlanc, Palmer Falgren 17th, Peter the Great, McCordick 18th, Tommy Baker up there, Lisa likes that, Ron Williams from St. Louis having a great year, Dreyfus up there, the Green Machine, Wayne Webb, Guppy Troop, and Kent Wagner, whose wife is on the LPBT, the Women's Pro Bowlers Tour, round out the top 24.
And our statistician today, Mike Durbin, here in Ohio. Yes, sirree, he finished 28th. Watch him next week, though, when the big money's up.
Mike Durbin, always a favorite at the Toledo Imperial Lanes of Darrell Ducat. Mike, a couple of chances to win that tournament. Big money there, $45,000 first next week. Acosta, first shot.
And Mr. Cool lays the 2-5-8. He won here in 1981. His last win was in 1982 in the Fairlanes in Washington.
Acosta, just a very versatile player, playing a much farther outside line than the other players. Leaves the 2, 5, and 8.
right, he got that first frame out of the way. Here's the man averaging 250. Bornhop.
Could it be 6 out of 11 weeks, Chris, that the man who wins the first match goes all the way? Leroy has 2 games under his belt. Tough opponent, though, in Acosta.
Eight strikes in his last win, 7 strikes in his first win over Randy Stoughton. Bornhop off to a perfect start.
If there's anything that's going to slow Leroy Bornhop down, it'd be simply his carry. He's got the best angle to hit the pocket because he can play more towards the center of the lane and still with his power drive the pins down. Now, if all of a sudden he would start leaving some 10 pins, 7 pins, 4 pins, it may be a lot more difficult to maintain a string of strikes. That's where a player like Acosta could come on and give him a lot of trouble.
Powerful double. From North Olmsted, Ohio, many of the professionals are already there at Imperial Lanes for the showdown of the PBA National Championship. 50,000 the winner will be live in Toledo a week from today.
56-game format, starting on Sunday, culminating, as you said, Chris, next week at this time.
And now Acosta, a little late help, gets his first strike. Now through 2 frames. Very upright.
Just an ideal style, Mel Acosta. I believe that here's one player that's truly underrated, could get a lot more out of his game than he has so far. This could be his 4th title if he could win this. Uses that fingertip grip. Could even the match here with a double.
A beautiful, powerful strike. This man loves to water ski. And every chance he gets, he does it. I bet he's good, too. Slalom.
Leroy Bornhop started his second match with 2 strikes in a row, left the 10-pin. But at that time, he had a commanding lead over Voss. Let's see how he reacts to the quick double by Mal Acosta.
That's an Esposito break. They call it.
You know, Chris, there's a song out called DOA by Billy Idol, and that means dead on arrival, and that's exactly what happened to Leroy's ball as it hit the 1-3 pocket. He almost left what we call the lily, the 5, 7, and 10. But once again, I said earlier in the match, the thing that will slow Leroy down, the momentum, is his ability to carry from that inside line.
Bornhop started from the opening moments of our 90-minute telecast, and he's been terrific. A double and a spare. Look how close the match is. All the excitement here on Saturday afternoons.
See how he reacts psychologically to that almost split on a pocket hit. Sometimes a player will start trying to overpower the pins and get himself in trouble.
Then there was this split, Bo. How do we shoot that one?
The 110. Leroy's ball slides wide. He tried to juice it up, put more on it, and so he sent it too wide. He actually had the 1, 2, 4, 10 washout standing. The 3-pin came across, knocked out the 4 and the 2, but the spare is still the same amount of difficulty. He has to drive the head pin over into the 10-pin. If he converts here, he'll trail by just 3 pins.
So, an open frame for the man that has won 2 matches, now going against Mal Acosta. He now trails by 14. Amleto Monacelli is the tournament leader, 24-year-old looking for his first title. He'll have a shot at it after this match now underway. This is practice shots, of course.
Signor Monacelli, If you have never seen him bowl in the championship rounds, stay tuned. He really puts the power to the ball, torques it up, makes those pins dance. But his opponent has not yet been determined, as Acosta can extend his lead to 24 here, fourth frame.
Oh.
I'll tell you, I like the style of Acosta. He's a great match game player, but his overall style is just tremendous. He can get a lot more out of his game than occasionally winning a tournament every once in a while. He's the type of player that if he'd really put his mind to it, as you see the fingertip grip, could win 3 or 4 tournaments every year in the Professional Bowlers Tour.
Turned 34 years of age last Sunday. Very, very serious guy when he's on the approaches. Loosens up a lot when he's away, just chatting.
Satirical humor, Acosta. And what makes him so good? The straight arm swing, the upright style, but the versatility and the ability to play the inside line, the outside line, throw the ball hard, throw it slow, and still perform under pressure.
On the Professional Bowlers Tour, we have some interesting folks. Like Acosta, I call him a gunslinger. Walter Ray Williams, the riverboat gambler. They have some great faces, don't they?
The outside trajectory, Acosta, that beautiful straight arm swing down about the 8th board, the pin action, the head pin to the sideboard, wipes out the 2, 4, 5, and 8. Leroy Bornhop, for the first time today, is behind by more than 10 pins. He trails by 13.
Sunday liked it. There's a lot of fans here in this capacity crowd, Bornhop.
Leroy, who's had an excellent week, is a good match game player. We know he can throw strikes. The people watching at home maybe not too familiar with him, but the people in the bowling industry have heard the name Leroy Bornhop for a number of years. He's due to win. So is Acosta and Monacelli, 3 great young players right near the top this week.
Got by with that high hit on the head pin, leaving only the 6-10.
Right through the middle, avoids the 4-6-10. Watch the action as the 2-pin goes to the sideboard, drives out the 4 and the 7. The 6-10 spare as Leroy's quickly on the approach. Needs to convert this to still trail by just 13 pins.
The winner to meet, Leto Monacelli. And Acosta.
Acosta, who has bowled a number of years, 34 years old, but he got a lot of experience in the California Junior Masters, which is a organization that holds tournaments for teenage bowlers in the California area. He was the state champion in 1970. Mal here coming up in the 6th can extend his lead to 23 pins with a double.
When Mal won here in 1981, he defeated Marshall Holman for the title. So he's been in against some heavy hitters.
Right you are, Chris, heavy hitters, and watch the heavy hit on this ball as his fingers stay underneath the ball, lift straight up through it, a good loft or lift over the foul line. You don't want to bounce the ball over the foul line. Lift it over with your wrist, and he did it so well there one more time, and he would have Bornhop down by 33.
2, 4, 5, 7.
The 7-pin makes it the toughest. The 2, 4, 5, a certain amount of difficulty there, but the 7-pin makes it very difficult to avoid the chop and still carry out the 7-pin. Acosta quickly on the approach will try to get the ball on the 2-5 side and let the head pin do the action.
He does it with such ease. Mal Acosta of Manteca, California. We'll be back.
Bowlers Tour next Saturday.
The crowd has watched Leroy Bornhop striking in the 7th and now again in the 8th. We had to bowl through because we were running behind our scheduled 90-minute time allotment. Hope you understand, but Bornhop, 2 strikes, cut the lead to 9 pins. With a spare working, here's Acosta in the 8th frame.
just smashes all 10 pins. They could have been tree trunks the way he hit that ball in the pocket, driving all into the pit. Acosta with that 9-pin lead. It's a tight match. It's whomever can perform in the 9th and 10th frames. The match is up for grabs.
Leaving the 2-pin, the winner of this game will meet the tournament leader, the top seed, Amuleto Monacelli. And this man has 3 titles, Acosta. He won all 3 from the tournament leader position. But now he's had to battle from spot number 2. Wide World coming up next, the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Dwight Muhammad Kwawi against Leon Spinks. Junior Heavyweight in WBA is a 195-pound limit. It's called Cruiserweight in the WBC. Wish they'd get their act together and be consistent. Nevertheless, a great bout, and the Battle of the Monsters, Bo, that'll get your attention.
Bigfoot. In fact, Bigfoot is parked in St. Louis, about 10 miles from where this man lives, St. Charles. And that was big shot in the match.
2-4-8.
And you could see by his reaction, slapping aside, disconsolate with himself, unhappy. He has put himself in a situation where he must make this spare and throw a couple of strikes in the 10th and 11th frames to put some pressure on Acosta. And this is the spare that has been so pivotal in the last 2 weeks. This is the combination that Mark Baker missed twice last week. The possibilities for Leroy Bornhop are this. If he strikes in the 10th, 11th, and 12th frames, he'll finish with a 2-13 game. Acosta going at what we call a 2-15 pace, presuming he would strike and spare in the 10th frames. It's not over yet, but Bornhop needs to throw a strike.
Just joined us. He averaged 250 in his 2 victories. His 3rd match of the afternoon, live from North Olmsted, Ohio.
He put the putty to that one. You can see that face grimace, that wrist snap through the ball, and the resulting pin action, the head pin going the sideboard, driving out to 2, 4, 5, and 7. He likes it. He knows that the power's there. Watch that head pin. The power, spin, and lift. The residue is simply that type of pin action, and Leroy has put himself in a position where he can still win the match. He can cut the lead of Acosta down to 2 pins with a strike here in the 11th.
Then the 4, 6, 7. Such a pivotal match for this non-winner.
Just puts too much on it. He really thinks the ball's there, but he snapped the ball very sharply at the back end. It's important that he knocks down the 4 and 7 to put some pressure. Look out. Put some pressure on Acosta.
Acosta, meanwhile, just sort of surveying the situation, looking at the crowd, the score sheets overhead. He's in a good position as Bornhop has shot a 202. Graphically, 9 pins to win.
And what he should do is not change a thing. Go for a solid in the pocket. You don't become protective in the 10th frame.
There's your winner. The man now will go into the final against Amuleto Monacelli of Venezuela. That'll be for the $27,000 first prize, $14,000 to the runner-up. That's the title match of the Buckeye.
Unpredictable, but there's a ball that handles it all. The AMF angle. Urethane control. Urethane hitting power. Devastating on any lane condition. #1 winner on the Winter Pro Tour 3 years in a row. Don't be left in the past. Hundreds of thousands of bowlers have chosen the Black Angle to get better scores. The AMF Black Angle at bowling pro shops only. The Angle strikes again.
Three-time champion Acosta has eliminated Leroy Bornhop 215 to 202. Speaking of championships, let's learn more about our fight coming up on Wide World of Sports. In Reno, here's our colleague, Jim Lampley. Hey, Jim, that sounds like great action coming up there. And we've had it here today where our bowling competition, Bo, what's it average? 225.
225, Chris. And if you're going to handicap and pick a winner in this final match, let's put some figures up there. The lanes are tight, but when the lanes are real tight, usually the down and in or a straight type shooter like Acosta wins the match, and he's also won one tournament here in 1981 as they're still practicing. But on the other side of the coin, the tournament leader has only won twice in 1986, and they were in the other two Miller Lite tournaments. So this being the third of the Miller Lite tournaments, you have your choice. Follow the record of the Miller Lite #1 seed winning, or follow the gut feeling I have of the down and in player, the Acosta type on the slick lane condition winning the match.
Well, the only similarity I see between these two is the stripes on their shirts, because their styles are certainly opposite, as you will see. Acosta, who won the last game, 215 to 202. He's from California. Won here in 1981.
In 81, a very gutsy match, as you said, Chris, against Marshall Holman, defeating Marshall on this very same pair, 235 to 170 in the championship match. You'll need at least that much against Monacelli.
The pot in this game is $41,000.
And $27,000 first, and if you switch it to Venezuelan money, bolivars they call them, it'd be 460,000 bolivars, and that's a lot of bolivars at stake.
Sounds good. It's almost a population of Barquisimeto, Venezuela. 600,000. How can that wrist possibly stay on that forearm, Nelson?
The tremendous wrist action, the tremendous style, Chris, as you just alluded to. He pushes that arm out, gets it up in a high position, plants that right foot, drives through. Now watch that wrist, ba-boom. And that is something. It's just an on-call. You know, that's the way I start my lawnmower every morning in the summer.
Don't tell me you have a self-unit. Bo, I'm going to send you a battery.
Well, we have 5 tractors on the farm if I can't get it started. Here's Monacelli. He started his lawnmower with a strike. Let's see what happens in the second.
And got a break, leaving only the 4-7. By the way, he did not make a mistake in choosing his shoes, the color.
He wears the red and white shoes, Chris, which we'll see in a minute as you see the pinfall cutting through, leaving the 4-7. Watch the action as he barely knocks over to the 10-pin and avoids the split. The left shoe has a very hard rubber sole on it, and what that does is keep him from sliding too much at the foul line. So,
and chops the 7 off. Did he have speed on that shot?
Speed, but no accuracy.
No.
This game is still 95% accuracy, 5% power. The old analogy of a baseball pitcher. You may be able to throw it 95 miles an hour, but if it doesn't go over the plate, you stay in the minor leagues. The experienced Acosta, tremendous opening in the early going.
Oh, seemingly getting better.
42-game format. Monacelli early leader, Stoughton, then Monacelli took the lead. Right now, after 2 frames, though, he's relinquished it down to 22 pins minus.
Stoughton, who was in the first match against Leroy Bornhop, lost 244 to 190. Bornhop over Voss, 256 to 234. Bornhop, 215 to 202, and boy, the pump is really working with a turkey.
The man from Manteca, California, which is just south of Stockton, Sacramento in the Stockton area, has opened with 3 in a row, has really put it on Amleto Monacelli in the first 3 frames. Monacelli trails by 32 pins. He's hardly aware of where he is yet.
Well, the 24-year-old, 5'8", 150 pounds.
The style, the wrist action that we have seen so much in the younger players, the high backswing, very similar to Pete Weber. Open hand like Mark Roth. Then watch that wrist action as he snaps through there, keeps that hand underneath the ball. Tremendous revolution, and definitely makes the pins talk. He needs to make this left-hand lane talk for one strike here in the fourth frame to cut the lead of Voss, of Acosta down to 22.
Pressure shot for the 24-year-old from Venezuela, going against veteran Mal Acosta, from commissioner of the PBA. While we were away behind it, we were running behind our schedule. A fourth frame spare for Acosta. He had 3 in a row, and now he has left the 4-pin.
In the fourth frame, Acosta hit slightly light in the pocket, leaving the 10-pin. Then a touch high here in the 5th frame, leaving the 4-pin. Has kept the ball in play, has bowled a great match through 5 frames, has got the pressure on an excellent young athlete, and Monacelli, tournament leader.
This is a championship game. Light Beer Open. Trailing by 20, but he can decrease it 10 more with a strike here, double working.
The red and white shoes. Remember that left shoe has a hard sliding rubber sole on it and heel to keep him from sliding too much. Plants that foot. Cannot duplicate the shot he had in the 3rd frame. Sends it too wide, leaving the 2-pin. Easy spare for Monacelli, but after 5 frames, he'll be 21 pins in arrears. Hard ball for a spin, not so much hook.
Physical conditioning, he's a great believer in jogging. In fact, between blocks on Thursday afternoon and night, jogged 8 miles.
Whew. He's a great athlete, played soccer on the special soccer schools teams as a right forward in Italy, which is, as you see, the strategy of Monacelli on the championship here. Saying 22 hooks a little more, and he'll cut back the power and move to the left. Neither one of those has worked too well for him so far.
An 8.
As the crowd reacts, a disappointed Monacelli, the solid 8. Watch the action of the pins as the ball from the inside trajectory of Monacelli plants that left foot, slides through. You can see how deep he is on the lane, almost to the 3rd arrow. Sends it real wide out to about the 4th board. The ball hits the 1, 3, 5, doesn't carry out the 8. Ends up with a spare.
Monacelli, who was 52nd here in 85, 13th in 1983, but his opponent won here 1981.
Mal Acosta been on a roll as of late. Cashed 5 out of the last 6 weeks. That means he's finished in the top 53 spots 5 out of the last 6 weeks. Has a chance to win the title.
10 on the right lane of this championship pair.
A shot identical to what he left in the 4th frame. And for you people that wonder what kind of weights or bowling ball weights for the upper bowlers that Mal Acosta is using, he's using what we call a half-ounce finger weight. In other words, between the thumb and fingers, the finger side of the ball weighs a half-ounce more than the thumb, and what that does is delays the hook a little bit more on the lane, helps him keep it under control.
The intensity of Acosta. It's his 2nd match. If you just joined us, he defeated Leroy Bornhop 215 to 202 to get into the final.
That young man knows he needs to throw strikes against Acosta.
And I'm Leto Monacelli, seeking his first title, and it's his 10th career television final.
Just drives all 10 pins in the pit. That straight down the line trajectory of Acosta is working so well. He's made the adjustment on the tight lane condition. Don't try to hook it too much. Go with the flow. Go with the oil. Let the ball go straight down and in. Monacelli does have the power, though, to hook it around all that oil and make a match of this.
Let's replay his release. Super slow motion.
Watch the action of the fingers as the ball comes down in the release zone. See his fingers are completely behind the ball. That wrist turns around the ball, straight behind it, and then snaps up right through the center of the ball. Revolutions, the name of the game. He gets about 15 revolutions from the time the ball is released at the foul line until it hits the head pin 60 feet and 6 inches away. This is a big frame. He trails by 21.
4-7. Looking drastically at the end.
Well, the left lane's been his undoing. He started strike 4-7 as Jim Carney, who is the proprietor here at our bowling center. His dad also a very affluent person and such a great host here in the Cleveland area. Back to Monacelli's story. The left lane, 4-7 in the second frame, struck in the fourth, solid 8 in the sixth, the 4-7 once again here in the eighth.
Continuing to mark Monacelli. But he's in against cool Mal Acosta, who has a strike up in the seventh, now shooting in the eighth frame of our title game.
Mal Acosta taking his time. An experienced match game player knows that this is the frame that he can put Monacelli away with a strike.
Watch the hit and then the reaction.
We haven't had a player of this style in the championship match all year long. The down and in style of Mal Acosta. Tremendous control, has kept every ball in the pocket, striking the first three frames around the pocket in the fourth, fifth, and sixth. Has seen his opportunity arise here in the eighth frame, stuffs another one. He can put it completely away with a strike here in the ninth.
A little bit of Marshall Holman there in the reaction. Very, very tough. Now Acosta.
Right now, Acosta going at a 2:37 pace. The best Monacelli can do is 2:16 if he strikes out. The roof would have to cave in if Amuleto is supposed to win his first title here today.
Come on!
And now Lake Michigan would have to freeze over for him to win. The best he can do is 2:05. Acosta is going to take home the title. It's just by how much.
And Acosta hasn't won since '82. 3 titles, one of them here, and Monacelli finding that first one elusive.
Well, I think you just put it perfectly, Chris. It's really not if Amuleto's going to win, it is when. He will be there. He's a great young player. But Acosta having a luxury that not many people ever have, sitting on the bench, relishing a victory.
A long look, realizing that that came too late.
Well, you look at Monacelli's game, he really hasn't bowled a bad game. Strike, 4-7 in the second. He threw 2 strikes in the third and fourth frames. Left the spare in the fifth. Once again, the solid 8 in the sixth. Strike in the seventh. A 4-7 in the eighth. A 10-pin in the ninth. A strike in the 10th. If he had was shooting 260, you really wouldn't know the difference if he could have carried on all the frames. But we said that down and in line, Chris, when the lanes are very slick, a good lesson to be learned out here. I think Monacelli will be learning it. When the lanes are slick, don't try to hook the ball too much.
Don't forget next week the PBA National Championship, 45,000 of the winner, and Mal Acosta has won his 4th PBA title in an 8-year professional career, his first since 1982. Final score after this.
The Professional Bowlers Tour. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Barbasol Shaving Cream. A great shave at a great